What's up? Welcome back. This is College Hill Celebrity Edition Season 3, Episode 2. I'm going to just go ahead and get right on into the video. I'm already late. Recorded this video 2 days ago. Go to edit it, no audio. So I'm back doing it again. So here we go. At least this time I have screenshots. I didn't have screenshots the first time. So at least I have screenshots this time. So we're really just going to jump straight back into it. They are still in the political science class. Karlous is still acting a fool with the things that he's saying, being disrespectful and all of that good stuff. I think I misspoke on the last one. I kind of went into some of the things that he said in this episode in the last one. So if you watched the other one, kind of gotta hear it again for it to fully make sense. But anywho, this is the point in the class where he says homelessness, it ain't our problem. And again, that's very irresponsible to say. Everyone is really just going back and forth. But to take it a step further, he goes on to say that addiction is a choice. He's like, nobody, put that pipe up to your mouth. Like, no, sir. That is very irresponsible to say. That's very inaccurate. You know what I'm saying? You can go ask any addict on the street or any addict that were you striving to become an addict, and they will tell you it was something that, just got from under them, really, and I'm really looking at him sideways. Really, this whole episode, I am looking at him sideways, him and Sauccy straight out the gate. I will just go ahead and tell y'all I am going to be going in on them because they both equally not equally, yes, equally got on my nerves this episode. Like, I understand we're making a TV show, but at the same time, there's a time and place for everything. And this is still a college campus. These are still kids that are going to this school. They paid their money. Some paid their money to go to this school. And you are both just, we'll get there. We'll get there. All right. So again, he's just, it's too much. Like, they, at this point, class is really over, but they're still just having conversations, and Karlous is still just trying to drive home his point as to how it's not their problem, it's the homelessness, it's the government's problem, and all of that. And in reality, it's like, if he would just stop and listen to what they're saying, he could understand y'all are kind of saying the same things, but just going about them a different way. Anywho, we'll get there. So from here, they go into their next class, and it is intro into converged media writing. And in this class, they are going to have to break off into pairs and get into the assignment is going to be, you're going to talk about things that, negative things that have been portrayed about you in the media, what's not true, and then the legacy that you want to leave behind. So Tamar and Karlous pair up, the screenshot shows the student asks what stories are often told about you in the headlines. And I'll just go ahead, since I'm on them, I'll go ahead and tell their spiel. They have similar stories. They both have been excuse me, labeled with the trope of being difficult to work with. Tamar has all of the different, she's hit with the trifecta of stereotypes and tropes, angry Black woman. She's difficult, can't work with her, doesn't get along well with others. Karlous was fired publicly from Wilding Out for his behavior and things of that nature. So they both kind of have like similar stories and stuff like that. So that was, it was cool to see it. One of the students asked China, so what's often a headline that is associated with you and your name? And it's at this point that China starts to go downhill. I will go ahead and say she does not make it to complete the exercise. We know that she is still, fairly new in this new journey that she's taking, this spiritual journey that she's on. And this exercise, it was just a trigger for her. I don't think she's ready. I don't think, there was anything wrong with her not being able to participate. It would have been nice if she could have pushed through, but I can understand considering she has been through a lot in the media. And like she said, she's never defended herself. So to just automatically assume that she'll be able to get up there and ultimately defend herself, you know, it was a lot. So I'm not, I don't have much on her or, much bad to say or anything bad to say about China and her experiences. You could see, I just took these pictures so to just kind of highlight how she wasn't really able to. And then she breaks down, and the teacher speaks with her. So before I go into just any more of that, I will go ahead and highlight the other two groups. Nick and Saucy were paired together. And actually, I think I do. Nick and Saucy were paired together. They did their presentation. Nick, the big misconception about him is that he doesn't take anything serious. He's always laughing and smiling. But I really think that's more like a defense mechanism for him. We see that later in the episode. He does a confessional and he says like this smile, like this is, this is me crying out for help in this house with these people. So, but he wants people to know like, no, I do take things serious. If I didn't take things serious, I wouldn't have made it as far as I've made it. I wouldn't have made it to USC. I wouldn't have made it to become a professional athlete. So, and then Saucy, the biggest misconception in the media, he says, for him is that he wants to be a girl. He doesn't want to be a girl. He just likes the way he dressed. He is feminine. And he just, he embraces himself. And if, people had what he wanted people to know about him, he was just, he's saucy. He's him. Hey, can't take nothing. Can't take nothing from it, whatever. That was everybody doing their presentation. And while Tamar and Karlous was up there, Angela tells Claudia, like, I'm not ready. And she walks out. The teacher tells Claudia, y'all can just see me on Friday or whatever, whatever, whatever. That's cool. Most importantly, when everyone made it out of class, they all just kind of rallied around her, gave her love and support, let them know that they were there with her. Claudia even went so far as to ask her, like, hey, was there anything that I said or asked you that triggered you? And I just thought that was really good, really big of her to do that, just check in and make sure so she'll know how to move with her going forward. Maybe that was the reason she asked that. But then even when they got on the bus, she still let her know, like, hey, I want this to be a comfortable space for you. We rock with you, we support you, whatever, whatever, whatever. So that is that on that. I assume everyone goes back to the house, and then we flash to nighttime, and it is Saucy. It is time for him to go to cheerleading practice, and this is where. No, this is not where he got on my nerve. I actually kind of enjoyed this scene. I expected him to act the way he acted there. He was late. First of all, he shows up in a skirt. He said they only sent him a bullhorn and a t-shirt that ain't no uniform. I said, oh, okay. Well, I mean, you could have just put on some shorts. I'm sure you had some shorts and you could have put the shirt on, but I digress. So he gets to practice. The coach calls him out about practice, and ultimately he has to run a lap around the stadium. Him and the young man, you see, they were both late, so they had to run. He's like, baby, I don't run nowhere. I don't even run to the bank, but I can show you how to walk. So baby, he walked around the whole stadium. I wasn't mad at him. They worked on some routines and stuff like that. He was catching on a little, he wasn't catching on. I'm not really sure because of how the editing was going. We get him and the coach go back and forth, and then he has to do burpees, or the whole team had to do burpees. And then next thing I know, he's doing a toe touch, and him and the coach is gagging. So I don't really know. I think maybe it was just for editing purposes and stuff like that, of how they chopped it up and stuff. But nevertheless, you know, they had a good cheerleading practice, I will say, because he was able to do a toe touch and a herky. No, he did a side herky and a toe touch, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was herky. Yeah, whatever. He was able to do a couple of little boom, boom, booms or whatever. So they're back at the house. Everybody's back at the house, and they are doing homework, and They got to get all these different assignments together, really, with this bill and all of the research that goes into that and stuff like that. Saucy comes in, and he wasn't on the screen very long. He was like, I can't do this. I ain't doing this too much. I'll just do extra credit, or whatever. So he goes upstairs, and then he becomes. This is where he starts to get on my freaking nerves. This is the beginning of it. He's up there screaming, Alexa. Alexa, like, dude, get your big ass up and cut that dang on light off. Like, where do you think you at? Get up and cut the light off. Like, shut the heck up. He was just doing too much. Like, and then he was loud, and obviously his voice was carrying through the house because the other house, mates even did confessionals about it and stuff. It was it was annoying. So then the lights cut off. He's like, Tamar, it's a lady in here. Like, we in New Orleans with this voodoo hoodoo. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, sir, go to bed. Go to bed. So back downstairs, they're still doing homework, and Karlous goes, I ain't asked to write no type of bill. And then he tells Nick, I know you don't really care about writing this bill. And Nick's like, no, actually, I do really care. And this is where we get, Nick's story. He was like, the reason I keep saying mental illness is because, my brother struggles with it. And, as soon as he's struggling, the streets is where he runs to, and if it wasn't for me and me taking care of him, people would assume he was just a regular homeless person on the street. He was like, that's why, I'm so passionate about it. So now let's pinpoint this. Karlous does a confessional and says that, because Nick is passionate about it and things that he's going to try to understand and things of that nature. So I'm like, okay, maybe when we go back into this class he's going to be okay. He's going to be more receptive to what they're trying to say and listen, instead of stop being so on the off, on the defense about it, and just blatantly disagreeing with everything. That's what I hope. Okay, that's what I hope was going to happen. So anywho, that's them. So everybody goes upstairs to go to bed. Claudia and Karlous are the only two downstairs, and Claudia goes, look at that baby. Santana left his child. So these two come up with the great idea that they're going to hide Santana's baby. No harm, no foul. He left the baby. We're going to hide the baby from him. I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be, some fun, cute for TV production, whatever. Just, give us something. The next morning, Santana wake up. He looking for his baby. Like, he is looking for his baby, and I mean, he is really looking for this baby to the point that he's like, I'm not going to class. So we get this scene where Claudia's in here trying to talk to him, like, I'm saying, it's not a real baby. Come on, you can go to class. And he's like, because everybody know I'm doing my college experience with a newborn. I like his commentary, but sometimes he's just extra and he just gets on my freaking nerves. But I guess, anywho. But this is where I want to stop and talk about production, or at least what I'm thinking is going on. I don't understand why, considering how Santana acts the rest of the episode, why this wasn't the moment where Claudia decided to say, okay, I took the baby as a joke. Here's the baby, go get the baby, and come on, let's go to class. She didn't. So that's going to lead me to believe that production told her not to tell him about the baby, and let's just rock with it and let's see what happens for content. That's what I am hoping is what happened. Or at least that's what I'm thinking what happened behind the scenes, because I don't understand why she didn't tell him that she had the baby or go get the baby, because he's saying he's not going to go to class. Like, I wasn't understanding that. So anywho, they get into their next class, and it is ultimately is Louisiana Unmasked. And in this, they're talking about the social aid programs in Louisiana, specifically the Zulu tradition, and how all of that got started. The biggest thing about what they talked about in this class was the fact that in the 70s, the Zulu integrated, which means, it was started. They started their own little Mardi Gras to mock the white elites and by dressing in overt stereotypes to kind of lessen this thing. Well, by them integrating in the 70s, at this point, it's already their traditions. It started in the 1920s. This is already their tradition. They were doing blackface, but by them doing, integrating, now you have white people doing blackface. And some of the classmates feel a certain way. The professor actually feels a way about white people doing blackface. Tamar is like, it's tradition, so I'm hands off of it. I don't have a problem with it in the name of tradition. However, I will say, me personally, I do feel like I have the same stance as the professor, which is I'm okay with you joining the organization, but if you want to participate in Zulu, you should do it in whiteface. Um, that was her sentiments. If you want to participate in Zulu, then you should do it in whiteface and not blackface. I agree with those. I mirror those sentiments. However, to take it a step further, for me, it's like you being there, your presence, you actually truly being an ally, wanting to make change, you dedicating your time, your finances, or you're helping to raise finances and you're helping with these social issues that Black people are facing. That is enough. I don't need you to take it that far and do blackface. Just I understand what you guys are trying to combat. However, there's still many different facets of where blackface is perceived in a bad way. It's done to mock us. So for me, it's a no. That's just, where I stand on it. And I'm not going to really spend just that much time defending it or whatever. They do have an assignment, so we are going to get to see them at Mardi Gras, but it won't be their typical Mardi Gras. They are to take 5 pictures with the locals, get their stories as to why they are there. So it won't just be you going to Mardi Gras and getting drunk. Santana is still in his house looking for this baby. At this point, it's 1:13. So at 2:00, he goes and he finds this baby. And this is why I said I feel like production had a hand in it, because I feel like you searched his whole house all day and you didn't find this baby, but all of a sudden you just so happen to have your camera out and you find this baby. Like, no, production told you where to go find your baby. And that's just where I'm at with it, and it's nothing wrong with it. It made for good TV. For sure. Did he do the most? Yes. But I mean, it made for good TV because he sat at home and just got drunk. So when he found the baby, he FaceTimed Tamar. Um, and and they're out to lunch and he's just going off. He's just going off. Like, who got, this ain't funny, blah, 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 blah. So now he on the phone with his friend, just going off and stuff. And it's just now he on the phone with his friend just going off, and it was just too much. He in the house drinking all day drinking. It just was a mess. So now that's it. So now we are, he didn't go back to school. Now that he had his baby, he didn't get dressed and go and make it to his next class, which would have been the political science class. So they go back into the class. Starting off, the teacher stops Karlous at the door. They handshake. He's like, "We're gonna have a good class today." So he thought. So they sit down, and right off the rip, Karlous does the most. He goes, some, my man. He's like, Dr. Roberts. So he's like, "No, I would never disrespect you like that on the some black man shit. But let's just be real. How much it's gonna cost to get an A in this class?" And this is what this was the expression that the professor had on his face. And that's the expression I have. His is more shocked. Mine's is more, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? How much it's gonna cost you to get an A? Like, sir. It gets worse. It gets worse. It keeps going and it gets worse. So Professor decides he wants to go back to yesterday's conversation that they were having. He was saying that Karlous was making some good points. He was saying that, they could take money from this and they could take money from that. And he asked Karlous to basically kind of explain what he was saying. And so Karlous, he was just saying, you can take a 3% tax from the gun sales or tobacco sales and put that money towards homelessness. And so the professor goes, that's right, but you have to ask for those things. They're not doing it. So you have to ask for those things. And that's the purpose of a bill. And he says something else and he goes, so that makes sense. Karlous goes, no. What do you mean? You just explained how we can combat homelessness. And so he says that's right. But you have to put that in a bill so that it can, go into legislation. It can go into effect and change can happen. But that doesn't make sense. How doesn't it make sense? Now you're just disagreeing to disagree. So, like, even Claudia tries to talk to him and she was just like, okay, so I know you say it doesn't affect you, but just think about, you're in your neighborhood, your nice home. What about if somebody, they become homeless, now they're hungry and they break into your home? Like, it does affect you because if somebody is hungry enough, they will break into your home. And now it affects you. So you should care. He's like, no, they break in my house, I got blah, 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 blah. And it's like, sir. The professor goes again. He's trying to explain stuff. He's trying to explain it like Karlous is just not. He's not getting it, or he gets it, but for him, because he did a confessional, it's not making sense to him because in his mind it's a simple solution and they should be able to do this and that's the end of it. But he's not realizing that there are steps to get to, or things you have to do in order for this plan that you came up with to even take effect. Like, that part is either going over his head or he's trying to make TV and just want to be, the Iron Man out. I don't know, but whatever it is, like, he was just doing too much in the most. And then so Nick just at this point, he's just like, dude, shut the fuck up and let the man talk. Karlous turns around, stands up over this man, and tells this man to shut the fuck up and dribble. That was the most disrespectful thing you could say to somebody. That's one. We're gonna start there. Because we are not going to just act like every single athlete is dumb. That is a stereotype that I would like to, we need to move past. That's just not true. But he's here in this class, in this college class, just like you. So that in itself counts for something. But to tell that man to shut up and dribble was just so disrespectful. And then you turn around and stand up as if you're going to do something to him. If that, like, all he had to do was stand up and put you down in your seat, little man. And it's crazy because just last episode, I was so going up you were literally, you my birthday twin, but I know how to act sometimes. I know how to act in a classroom setting. This Aries would have never done this. I'd have never done something like this. And anybody that knows me can tell you that. We'll pop off in the hallway, and I'm really not even popping off. So, like, come on. I was just going up for you, and now I'm having to go in on you. And I hope this is not what we're about to see I'm about to see this in the whole entire season, because if that's the case, I can tell you now that I've already lost just a little bit of respect for you. So I really hope that you come back in the rest of this season and clean this up, because this isn't cool. This just was not cool at all. Like, you telling this man in his face like he don't know nothing, he dumb, he's the idiot. Like, that was just it was team too much, in the words of Tamar. Team too much. So the class is over and professor pulls him to the side. Now you got to stay out of class after class as if you're back in high school again, because you don't know how to act. And that's crazy. That's crazy. The professor even told him, like, we have a class decorum. We don't do that. We don't do that in class. That's just ridiculous. I was highly disappointed in him and his behavior on this episode, because that was completely out of character. And I know I was making all of the excuses in the world for him last episode and saying, maybe he was just trying to possibly make TV, or just being a comedian, or it's just his personality. He's gonna push back. And granted, now in this moment when him talking to the professor, he was kind of trying to clean it up and state his case as to why he was pushing back. Never made justification for why he stood up on Nick. That was just something you can't even justify. That was just in it, that was just completely out of line. Nothing other than an apology and changed behavior would change that. However, he was telling the professor, like, well, they just disagreeing to disagree for no reason. Like, no, you're the one disagreeing to disagree for no reason. And he's saying, well, I don't feel like I'm being hurt. Okay, well, then if that's the case, then you say that. How about you say, okay, I hear you all, but I don't think y'all are hearing what I'm trying to say, or what, my point isn't being heard, or y'all not understanding my point. Then you do that. But to just be going back and forth, and then to stand up in this man's face like you finna do something to him on this college campus in this room with these little kids that look up to you, and all of this thing disrupting their education and all of that. No, sir. Like, no. That is no. No. No, that shit pissed me off. That shit pissed me off. And clearly I'm still pissed off. And it's what shit 2 weeks later. That shit pissed me off. That pissed me off. And I'm gonna try to stop saying it, so I'm gonna move on. So anywho, they left his ass. Like China was like, I can't be around this type of energy. I'm gonna be keeping my eye on him, because his energy, my energy can't match with that type of energy for too much. And I'm right here with her, because I feel like what she's saying is, you gonna take me back, and I'm gonna end up clicking out on you. And that's just, here we go, round and round and round in circles. So they get back to the house. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing. So Nick goes and tries to check in with Sauccy, because he knows that Sauccy was kind of upset, and he's like, I ain't having nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? So he goes outside to try to talk to Sauccy, and Sauccy gets up and walk off. He's really pissed. He's still trying to get to the bottom of where his baby was at, and who had his baby, and all of that. And you had my baby, and you was laughing, and you thought she was funny, and blah 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 blah. So that's that was that. But anywho, that was the end of the episode. It kind of left off right there. They were all in the kitchen. He was trying to get to the bottom of it. Claudia still never revealed that she had a hand in it. Granted, Nick knows that Claudia and Karlous did something with the baby. He still, and granted that Karlous just did all of that. He could have threw Karlous under the bus and was like, man, Karlous hit that baby, but he didn't. So, that all of that, just everything Nick exemplified this episode, just shows his character. He has matured a lot over the years. I am very proud of him. He's a very well stand-up man. Just based and judging off of this, I'm not pulling nothing real, like life, whatever. I'm not. I'm just thinking about on this show right now in this moment of what we are discussing. So don't come for me about Nick and his past, and none of that in the comments. I'm just talking about what we have seen on this show, these 1 and 2 episodes. That is all I'm speaking of. Now, granted, like I've said, I did watch him on Couples Retreat, and if I'm not mistaken, he started off an asshole, but he came around by the end of the seasons, which is the goal. So again, but that's as far as I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave that show from where I saw it, the change, and then what I'm seeing on this, that is that. But anywho, overall, this was a good episode, but I was highly disappointed in Karlous. I'm okay with you. I'm good with a good debate. And I'm okay with you agreeing and with agreements, disagreements, and agreeing to disagree. But there is a way that you handle yourself. There is a thing called classroom decorum, and I just need him to take this a little more serious and be a little bit more aware. If y'all were in a class by yourself, maybe I can see that happening, because okay, the cameras are in here, but there were other kids still in there. I'm not really sure how that goes with their grade and stuff, but I would imagine it's a class. They're getting something out of it because they're doing it. So that being said, I don't like how he handled himself. In no means, I don't like how he acted in front of the professor. Yet again, I think I said it on the last episode, this guy don't know you don't really know him. He doesn't know your personality. So yeah, but overall, I mean, as far as entertainment, editing purposes, and all of that, I think it was a pretty decent, it was a good episode for sure. But for sure, it was a really good episode. I don't know where this thing with Claudia and Saucy is going to go. Again, I feel like there were multiple opportunities for her to tell him that she was the culprit in the situation. I don't know if she's waiting to speak with Karlous, one off, and they're gonna figure out how they're gonna handle it together, or what the situation is gonna be. But I can only imagine that it is going to be a big blow up, because Saucy has already said in his confessional that if it was Claudia, he got some for her. So that's gonna be something to see. I am looking forward to that for sure. This is gonna be some good entertaining drama. Saucy gotta calm down in that house with all that loudness though. Like, don't be disrupting them people while they doing their homework, because you a little princess. Or you live this rich and fabulous life. You ain't never too good that you can't get up and cut no lights off for yourself. Like, you ain't got that handicap and that big in the world that Alexa, you can't go nowhere without an Alexa. So yeah, that's my thoughts and sentiments on that. As far as China goes, I hope this experience, by the time we make it to the end, helps her to, especially with this class, helps her to rediscover her voice, tell her side of the story, and stop allowing people to shape her narrative for her. And just really take back control of who she is and get back into who she is. That is kind of my takeaway, or what I hope for China going forward. Yeah, that's that on that. This was a good episode. I give it an A. I give this an A. I'm still thoroughly entertained. I'm annoyed with a couple of people, but I'm not annoyed to the point where I don't want to watch it or talk about it. No, I want to get on here and talk about your ass because you piss me off and you need to do better. So if you ever see this, I hope you see that I'm saying you need to do better. You can't be no area sharing my birthday and my state, my hometown state, and getting on the freaking television and acting a donkey in class. No, sir. Anywho, that was my review of College Hill Celebrity Edition, Season 3, Episode 2. I am your girl, Shay. Do me a favor and hit the like button on your way out. And if you have not already, hit that subscribe button and drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on this episode. How do you think Karlous handled that situation? What do you think he should have done? What do you think Nick should have done? And yeah, let me know your thoughts. And I can't wait to hear from you. And I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.